everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the podcast, which we're recording straight after episode 5.
Yes, we are, and I have the worst church giggles in the world, so I'm so sorry. Yes,
It's been going a while now, haven't we?
we have been going while we're reaching the slightly mad stage.
Yeah.
But this is really fun doing the back-to-back, actually, because
Yeah.
there's a bit of continuity of thought.
Mm-hmm. And this one, I don't get to use this phrase very often, so I'm going to make the most of it. We're spilling the tea.
We are, and this comes about, actually, it's something I've been thinking for a while. I think you've been thinking for a while, and we sort of intersected with this, and I did talk about this a bit on YouTube. But I didn't want to talk about it on my own on YouTube because I wanted to bounce ideas, and the pod felt like the right space.
Yeah, I think it's a valid, we've been mildly trepidatious, love that word, about sort of saying what we really think, but we know that our listeners like to hear what we really think.
Yeah.
So we will temper that with some suggestions instead.
We will be balanced as far as we can.
We are then going to come up with a plan to help Jess with her sojo.
Yes.
And we're going to need listener contributions.
Yes, we are. So, I feel like I'm at therapy. I don't want to sew at the moment. Or actually, I should say, I feel a little bit more like sewing now. I do have a couple of things that I'm doing. But I'm just not feeling the joy necessarily at the moment. And a big part of that is... and I'm going to say the inflammatory bit. All the new patterns look the same to me. Nothing is inspiring me. When I look out, I go, there's nothing, no new pattern releases really in my orbit, because Instagram does only show you a small proportion of who you follow. There's nothing in my orbit that I'm going, I want to make that.
Yeah.
And I have some thoughts on this. I think there's a few things, aren't there? There's, firstly, it feels like a lot of patterns coming out are trend-based.
Right, so issue number 1, I'm quite grumpy about this trend-based.
Yeah, me too.
Because, as we talked about in episode 5, for a pattern to be well tested, it takes time, which means that you can't necessarily release to the trends. And I chose to sew because I don't want shops telling me what I want to wear.
Yeah.
I want a wonderful range of choices. So there's loads of patterns that I want to choose from. That it's like a sweet shop of choice, but I'm not being directed in a certain direction because that's the trend.
And equally, it's fine. We understand if it's like, well, that's what people buy.
Yeah.
However, there are loads of people, in the same way that there are loads of people who are excluded from fashion when we do trends.
Yeah.
When we only have sewing patterns that are either incredibly basic or incredibly trend-based, there's a whole group of people who just can't find anything to sew for that period. And also, people are sewing something to meet a trend and then never wearing it again.
No, but also, we're just then going back into this consumerism fast fashion.
Yeah, we are.
mode.
I sew for style, not for fashion.
I sew for style, for comfort, for self-expression, not because right now all the shops have a tie front top.
No.
And I'm not saying that I might not want a tie front top in my life, but I might like a tie front top in my life because I've seen an interesting pattern and I would like to do it because I think it would be an interesting thing in my wardrobe, not because they're everywhere in my face all the time.
Exactly. I made a tie front top recently that I hacked out of a completely unrelated top, dress actually, because I thought, I'd love to make like a mad sort of 70s top to go to a festival. Yes. That top's going to get reworn every summer.
That's not like little ties, it's a big tie.
No, it's 2 little ties.
Oh, is it
it's 2 little ties.
A lovely big tie.
Well, I designed it so that it looks like... The reason it's tie front, actually, is because I thought any kind of fastening would ruin it. So I wanted it to, like, really start low on my waist and ruche into the middle, and the best way to do that was ties. But what I did is gathered the whole middle, so you got that kind of almost slightly, like, bralette effect, which is fun. But I did not like any of the tie front patterns because they all look the same.
Yes, so we've then got the homogenization.
Yes, we do.
So I appreciate that someone might come out with a design that might have been inspired by something off a runway or a catwalk.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how fashion works.
But if we then see, as Erica Davis says, who isn't anything to do with the sewing world, but she is like a style person, just once you see threes, you know it's a trend.
Yeah.
Well, we've definitely seen at least 3 tie front tops. So then I'm like, okay, so now you're just telling me that this is on trend and this is what is the sewing thing. Well, is it not? Because as you say, because that's all that's pushed in our face, as opposed to going off and ferreting and finding interesting things, which is what I then do, because, well, I've always been like that. I've never wanted to be like everyone else, so it just irritates me. But as you say, because they're having to produce them quite fast, then we're having things that are designed for beginners, because we're having to produce them in a speed that means we can only really produce stuff for beginners.
Yeah, because it has to be incredibly basic. And the other really big problem I have with this is this homogenization of sort of style and into fashion and trend means that pattern houses are losing this sort of collection feel. Now, there are certain pattern brands who you go, they do that style of pattern and they do this style of pattern. That's starting to go because they're all doing the same style of pattern. And I understand the commercial pressures. I get it.
And you don't mean all. It just feels like all.
It does feel like all. And I do think, like, as research for this episode, we found like 11 tie front tops, which look almost identical. But there's two other things here, and we can talk about it all as a mass because they'll all come up together. So first thing, everything starts to look the same. First thing is trend stuff. The second thing is that we're getting stuff only drafted for beginners, which is not only just immensely boring because it all looks the same, it's also kind of, I don't know, it's leading to a very strange style of sewing. And thirdly, we are now paying exactly the same price you would pay for an advanced pattern for a pattern you could draft yourself in 2 hours.
And I need to say, I appreciate that having really good quality beginner patterns is really important.
Yeah, of course.
Because you and I were both saying when we was out at lunch that actually these didn't exist when we began.
I started 12 years ago. I couldn't find a single decent beginner pattern.
So we're not saying that nice beginner-friendly patterns shouldn't exist.
Oh, God, no.
And maybe one pattern company's modus operandi is, I want to be a beginner-friendly pattern company. That is cool. What we're saying is, when everything that's coming out is in that mode, it's not giving those of us who are moving beyond beginner the chance to stretch.
It's also not letting anyone move beyond beginner because nothing is testing anyone's skills. Like, and that's the thing. Beginner patterns are vital for getting people in. But also, sewing is flair.
Yeah.
Sewing is a little bit something different. Now, can I name and shame for a moment?
I think we're going to have to in Spilling the Tea. We can't dance around this.
So,
can I just say that several people put either stories on Instagram or reached out, and you reached out to me and someone else separately reached out to me. Now, we're not saying it because we don't feel we're on our own, but I know that there are other people who feel similarly, differently, etc. And we're not saying that any of these patterns don't have validity in their own right for someone.
No.
We're just a bit grumpy.
We are just a bit grumpy. And actually, I did put this out on YouTube, and I have never had so many comments saying thank you, because it's a lot of people. I think the thing is, beginner patterns are fine. I refuse to pay 20 quid.
Right.
That's where I'm struggling.
And I have a particular issue with this, because I think some of the really great pattern companies have some lovely free patterns or a pay what you want for them, because they appreciate that they are as well drafted as all their others or as well made, but they don't sort of justify the same level of cost.
Yes.
And that's where I get grumpy, is when I'm being asked to pay the same price when I don't feel that the return
There's
value.
not even remotely the same return value, because what you have to remember is it's 20 quid for a pattern, 15, 20 quid for fabric, plus printing, plus your time. You're paying 50 quid for a garment that is like 4 seams. So I am firmly of the belief that either beginner patterns you should have to pay a lot less for them, or they should contain more options and upgrades and add-ons.
I think is that, you know, if I take a pattern company like Notches, right, they will release something that to the eye might, for one version of it, not look very complicated. But when you get their patterns, you get about 20 options.
Yeah.
And I think that, I'm not saying there's not a place in the world for a tiered skirt, but there is a place in the world to have multiple options within that. So we'll just say it's the Tilly and the Buttons pattern.
So I think on this is really important. So I made recently the True Bias Mauve, which is a tiered skirt with a brilliant, like, proper waistband with elastic and casing, and then
a tie front.
So it's got a tie front, and so the way it works is like a thick elastic band, and then on that you sew a channel into that and you tie it. So that's quite, like, it's a little bit of extra. It's quite nice. You have loads of different tiered lengths. You can make it in loads of different ways. You can make it, so there's a lot of options. I'm pretty sure that was like 14, maybe 12 quid.
Yeah.
It wasn't much, and I felt, do you know what? This is a paper pattern. It's got loads of options in it. I got really, really irritated when the new Tilly and the Button skirt came out, and it's £18 for a paper copy, or it's £14 for a PDF. I'm never going to get a centre copy of it, but I don't really care because I've talked about this very openly before. I am really outraged that you can pay £18 for 4 rectangles.
And I think, okay, the top one is a slightly sloped one. Well, because I've seen people talk about it.
Okay.
You know, so we've got to be very clear on what we're saying. But I just think of all the patterns to offer, it is the one that there are so many either already that exist with other options or that you could do yourself.
Well, By Hand London, as far as I'm aware, had one for free.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same.
And that's what I mean is it is something that is already available for free. Now, okay, they have the frill bit on there, but you could Google how to do that. It is folded over fabric that's gathered.
Well, it's folded over fabric that's gathered, but also you can put a frill on something if you accidentally put it on the wrong side. Like, frills are not difficult with rectangles.
What I feel is, I don't feel that don't bring out the pattern, but bring it out as your, like, lower price entry point for beginners.
I don't think you can charge £18 for it. That's where I struggle.
Well, not when you compare it to, like, their Mabel that they've got.
Yeah, which is the same cost.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's like 22 quid, but still. Yeah, exactly.
But also, I just think the way it was positioned, if it was positioned as a wonderful beginner-friendly, this is a thank you because it was their 25th pattern.
I think so, yeah.
That this is a thank you back to the community. This is either pay what you can afford on the PDF, not on the paper, obviously, or we're doing it at an entry level price. You know, look at what some pattern companies offer for free. You know,
so,
and I'm not saying they could afford to offer it for free. That's what. But I'm just saying, you know,
it's not. So the problem I have here, it's beginner in skill, and this is not just them. They're using them as an example, but plenty of other people do this. It is beginner in skill level. It is not beginner in cost. So if you're saying we're putting a pattern out to get more beginners into sewing, and then you're charging more than a beginner would reasonably spend. You're not getting beginners into sewing. You're exploiting beginners.
Obviously, I understand that the paper one, you can't probably differentiate the cost because paper printing is paper printing.
Don't do it in paper, though, because you can just measure the rectangles.
Exactly. Do it in PDF. And I just think people get excited about new pattern releases. And then I wasn't, because I there's so many patterns I want to sew that already exist. I don't need any more in my life. But it just fell on the back for me of seeing too many tie front tops as well.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we're just being confronted by just the same stuff over and over again, when actually you and I know there is so much else out there.
There is. And actually, on the front of homogeneity, there is a pattern, and I should say I love both of these designers before I say this. I adore both of them, but it really struck me. The recent Friday pattern company, Wren, is exactly to the stitch the same as the True Bias Calvin. So, like, I'm sure there's enough difference to avoid copyright, but, you know, I can't speak to that. But when you look at images and you look at the line drawings, they're exactly the same.
Yeah, and it is hard. It must be really hard as a pattern designer to try and come out with something different. But
particularly in the pressure.
It's not about different. Maybe it's about offering variety in your pattern, or offering opportunities to help people how to hack them.
Or it's about style. Like, I want to look at a pattern and go, that's from that designer.
Yeah. And I think that going back to episode 5 where I talked about Sew Like Shop and her squig skirt, she offered about 4 or 5, I think, different hacking opportunities with the pattern. So it was already an interesting pattern, which was amazing that she came out with saying that it didn't exist. Massive credit for that. But then to say, once you've bought this, there's so many opportunities. You could make it 4 or 5 times and none of them would look the same.
Exactly. And if you are going to release an upgrade,
Yeah.
Nothing makes me angrier than having to pay for it fully. Yeah. Like a couple of quid, fair enough, because you've already bought the pattern. There is a jacket, and I'm not going to say who because I cannot quite remember.
I can.
Oh, if you can, then I will.
It's the Sunny jacket by Tilly.
It is. You have to pay for the lining.
That one boils my blood.
Because it looks the same as the Ilford as well.
Put it on your blog, give people instructions, allow them to download the
like
PDF.
The Ilford people did.
Yeah.
For the Ilford, there's a blog post showing you how to do the lining.
Yeah. And I think what I want to come out of this episode is not just people going, oh my God, they've had a massive moan and they don't like Tilly and Buttons. Not true. Tilly and Button stretch book really was great for me at the beginning.
Oh, I mean, I don't like them, but I know they've worked for you really well.
And and I see value in a lot of their other patterns.
I see value in what they've done for the sewing community.
And I think that if someone was a beginner, I would definitely recommend some of their patterns. And I think that there are lots of great people like Helen's Closet who do really well crafted, beginner-friendly patterns. Also then has the flip side that she's got things like the Falconer pants, which help people to elevate and take their...
Exactly.
She's got that balance right. And her blog posts on her website are really interesting as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You can be beginner and support beginner sewists without producing patterns. So I should say, I put this out on YouTube. I didn't name any names because at the space I was in, I was on my own. I wanted to work through some stuff with my community. The number of people who commented saying, I'm getting so annoyed at seeing patterns come out where I'm being charged 20 quid for something I could draft in an afternoon.
So my first thing is, please don't spend 20 quid.
No.
YouTube is amazing. If you want to make a tiered skirt, I guarantee you, a little bit of searching on YouTube and you'll find brilliant instructions.
Hack it from what you already have.
And I think that's another thing that I think is, we talked about this as well, didn't we? That if we just keep pushing out these trend-based and quite beginner-friendly patterns, we're not helping people to build their confidence to be creative. Yeah. Hence why I've gone on and on about Twig and Tail on here, because they are one of the pattern companies that I think wants people to hack their patterns. Yeah. Hence why they offer you an entire sleeve pack for like £5. That means if you've bought even one of their other patterns, you can suddenly make 5 different tops.
Well, exactly that. And it's even just like, we did talk about this earlier in our own sort of time. And I think one of the things that I think big four patterns, yes, there's a lot to criticise, but one of the joys of a big four pattern is it doesn't tell you how to do every single minutiae seam. And when you are a little more experienced, you can go, oh, great, I can put a seam in. Whereas the problem is if you only ever release, super beginner patterns, they're not necessarily going to pick up a McCall's pattern because it doesn't explain how to put a zip in. You have a unique role in taking your, I want to say viewers, but your community with you.
Yeah. And I think it's a bit like a toddler, isn't it? When they first start learning to walk, they walk along the edge of the sofa, they hold your hands. There comes a point when they have to take those tentative steps and walk away from you. And I think that as sewists, we've got to be brave to take those steps. And funnily enough, I've got a YouTube coming out soon talking about how I love my mistakes, because we need to get out of production.
Yeah.
We
churning stuff out, and it's just
hobbies. This is coming from someone who people go, oh, you're so fast, you make a lot of stuff.
Oh, yes.
But my mindset is not about production. My mindset is about exploration and creation. And I don't always necessarily like the word creation, because that sounds like I'm creating a thing. But actually what I mean is being creative.
Yeah.
So, if you think about April, I just went to town on just doing all sorts of things with blouses, and I learned a huge amount about sleeves and adjusting patterns and hacking patterns. And a lot of people say to me, I'm not a good enough sewist to hack. I do not agree with that at all. You can be a really beginner sewist who has bought only 2 patterns, and you can go, I am now going to have a go at following an instruction on YouTube to make a different sleeve.
This is true. I am going to say here, and it's really important to know, I totally understand if you are someone who has very limited sewing time and you don't want to spend that time doing something that goes horribly wrong. I understand how that can be really difficult. But that can be really difficult for some people.
But it can but that's because in our head we think we've wasted the time, but we haven't, because, and this, I've done a lot of thinking about this, is because actually the time we spend is valuable for our brain, whether at the end of it we have something to show or not.
Oh, I know, but like I think it's important to note lots of people don't feel like that.
No,
yet.
But yet. Yeah. And that's the thing, and I didn't feel like that originally. Yeah. And as a sewing YouTuber, it's been that's why I've thought about it a lot, because it would have been so hard to not feel like I'd got to produce something all of the time to have to share. Now, people might be sitting out there going, no, I think you're a hypocrite, Sam, because you always have something to share. That's not true, because if you look at the variety of my vlogs...
And if you go into a sewing room...
Yeah. There is a reason why sometimes there might be like an ironing board chat or a travel vlog, because actually that gives me the space to breathe, to not necessarily feel I've got to have something to share every week.
That's why I do wardrobe roundups and pattern roundups all the time, because I'm much more interested in talking about, and this is something we did talk about very briefly earlier, that I want to talk about here. Because we are in this space where new patterns come out faster and faster and faster, people make them, we never see them again. I am so determined that you will all see me wearing the same thing 10 times.
Yeah, well, I'm sat here wearing the free range slacks that I made last summer.
Yeah.
Now, I am wearing one of the 6 mix it up tees that I made for Sarah.
Which looks great.
But I wear them all.
Yeah,
so I'm not saying you can't produce lots of things. What I'm saying is we need to see it not as our hobby as a production line, but our hobby as an exploration.
There shouldn't be pressure to produce either.
No, but also we shouldn't pressure ourselves to think, I've spent 4 hours today and I've got nothing to show with it. No, that's not true. You've got a lot to show for it. You've given yourself the time you need to have space away from whatever else, I nearly swore then, going on in your life. You've given your brain a massive creative workout, which, our body needs physical and creative workouts to be tired at night. You've used parts of your brain that perhaps for other parts of the day you haven't used. You've helped yourself cognitively, therapeutically and mindfully. You've used your hands and your brain together, which is amazing for your left and right side.
It's a global process.
So just because at the end of the day you've got an arm accidentally sewn to a neck doesn't mean that you haven't done something with those 4 hours.
Well, exactly. And actually this leads us really nicely round to what started this whole episode, is that I don't remember the last time I used my brain to sew something. And this is where the ennui comes from. I am somebody who, and I know it feels like I'm bringing it back to me, but this is for a segue for something Sam and I are, Sam has a challenge for me. I am somebody who needs to problem solve. And I need to think through processes, because that I find much. Sitting and shearing, for example. I like sheared garments.
What was coming then?
Yeah. Well, I had a real think about what I wanted to say. Thinking and shearing, and doing those kind of garments. I love shearing. I love wearing it.
I'm falling in love with it too.
But sewing shearing is like driving up the M1. It's a long straight line and you don't
you
don't use your brain.
I don't agree. I think it's really mindful and rhythmic.
I hate it.
But I challenge you to reframe the experience.
No.
Because actually the feel of the fabric, the rhythm, the journey that you're going on, and this is it. This is about journey, not end.
No, but so I strongly disagree, because I find the process boring because I know how to do it. There is no part of the process I have to think about, and as a result, it's not giving me. I don't mind shearing as part of a complex project, because while I'm slipping into a coma shearing, I can be thinking about what I need to do. I'm mindful in other areas, not shearing. But as an example, like if it's part of a complex project, I can be thinking about the shearing and going, how am I going to do that sleeve?
Yeah. So you might be able to use shearing as a space to give you space to think through something else.
But in a pattern where it's 2 rectangles and shearing, I'm like, I want the dress, but I really don't want to have to do this.
Right. So I think, and this is the thing, and I think I know you're in a place where you need more creative challenge. there are days where, quite clearly, as I think everyone would know, I love creative challenge.
Yeah.
But there are days where I need a win because in the rest of life it is all too challenging, and I need to know that when I sit down today, whatever happens, I don't need to have any resilience.
Yeah.
There are days when, it is good to practice my resilience. It's good to practice coping because then in other parts of life I practice that.
Yeah.
But there are days where I'm like, I'm just making a t-shirt today because I know it will work and I know that I will have a win because life is a bit poo and I need a win. Right?
No, I totally agree with
that. But I think we're going to remove those moments because we either know that or we're working on having that in our life. But what we're talking about here is that actually when we're in a suitable place, and you're in that place right now, creativity in us saying, whether you think you're creative or not, because I know lots of our listeners will sit there going, but I'm not creative.
We have a great episode on this. Go and listen to it because we go into it in detail.
Whether you think you're creative or not, you are doing a creative thing.
Yeah, you are.
And you are taking a 2D thing, as Marcus said, and turning it into a 3D object.
Yeah.
And I think that having patterns that interest you and excite you, because that's why I like building Lego, because I'm like, oh, how are they using the croissant today?
So this is the thing, and I think I didn't realise how much I need this.
Yeah.
Because all of last year I was sewing my wedding dress, I was sewing loads of stuff, so everything else I made was headspace making. Yeah. It was lovely, simple stuff I got to enjoy and just make and vibe and have a lovely time. The problem is I lost the big creative project and now all I'm doing is that other sewing. Yeah. And because I've expanded, this is going to sound really silly, but because I've expanded my horizon of what I can do, I'm now just not doing it.
Right. So this leads us perfectly on to the suggestion I have.
It does. So I met up with Sam today and she said to me, I've got a plan.
As always, I've got some crazy plan.
She's got a plan. I don't know all of the details of the plan.
So I'm going to share the plan. So I've watched, if you haven't watched, I've watched Jess's most recent vlogs. I've listened to her, even when we haven't seen each other, I have been listening to you, paying attention. And I thought, Jess needs some creative challenges in her life.
I do.
So I was thinking, there's a lovely lady who is on Instagram and is now on YouTube called Buried Diamond.
Yes.
She does these for herself. She gets patterns and she puts the findings in and then she wraps them up, and when she needs a bit of an interesting challenge she gets a mystery one out, opens it and creates it.
Okay.
So I was thinking Jess might not want that exactly like that, but maybe Jess needs some interesting challenges, and I thought maybe the podcast listeners would enjoy coming on that journey. So what I need from you all out there is to comment and share interesting creative challenges. Now that might be a particular pattern that you think would be great for Jess to make. It might be a particular fabric that we want Jess to have a go at finding a pattern and creating in. It might be, I've thought of something like saying to like the lovely Size Me Sewing top that you've got on, Seren shirt. I've thought of something like saying, well, Jess, you love that. Now I'm going to give you my sleeve book and I want you to make a different sleeve to go on it.
Yeah.
Because that would give Jess is going to have to then make a new sleeve from scratch, or then put it on something she knows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I throw, because I did this on YouTube, I said in my first I asked for suggestions. So can I give a couple of parameters to listeners? So things I already know how to do because they get suggested every time. I already know how to sew jeans.
Yeah.
I already know how to sew lingerie. French seams and everything are all fine.
And I don't think this is about giving you something
No,
new.
but it's just people always suggest those particular areas.
I think this is about giving you a creative problem to solve.
It is.
A creative change to something.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking I might dig through some interesting patterns, hide them, and you might have to lucky dip pick one.
Okay.
So this is going to be a journey, and we're not going to rush it because this is not about production.
No,
this
it's
is
not.
About creation.
It's about brain use, because that's the thing is, again, I think a lot of people do conflate this with you need something new. It's not that I need something like I don't need a new. I may not need a new pattern in that way.
Yeah.
I need to think about something differently.
And that's why I liked my blouse one, because I've thought a lot and learnt a lot.
Yeah.
And it really gave me like a real sort of zhuzh to my sewing because, whilst I sew to wear, I also sew because my brain loves puzzles and interesting thoughts and that sort of thing.
I love the pattern piece element of so the tie front top I made a couple of weeks ago, it came to me in a dream. I then sketched it out in my croquis book, which has been a really nice practice and thinking, and then how would I create that? I have sketched, maybe this, oh God, you're going to make me do it if I tell you. I have sketched a fantastic bias cut evening dress I want to try and make, and I don't know how.
Right. So here we go. So I think I've come up with the first challenge.
Yes, you have. You have.
And what we're going to do is let Jess go off. We don't know how long it'll take, but when she's ready, we'll record like the follow up, and in that one, I'll then give you your next challenge.
Nice. Okay.
So we're not setting any times on this because this isn't the Great British Sewing Bee. We're not TV entertainment, so Jess can take as long or short as she likes. So it might be a week, might be a month, who knows? But when Jess is ready, we'll record your thoughts on the first one, and then I'll give you your next one, and we can take you all along. So if you want to help me, do send in suggestions. I might one time put a load in a thing and Jess can pick one out.
I will also post progress pics in the Ko-fi for subscribers.
Cool.
So join us, subscribe.
Yep. So shall we talk about the first one?
Yes. Okay.
So I have found a new fabric place. I didn't find it. I found it via someone else. So there's a lady on YouTube called Steph Sewn, and she talked about this. They are an Indian fabric company called Sanskriti, and obviously I had to try them out. The quality is very good. I'll talk about it more in a future YouTube episode, but I gave Jess a choice of about 3 fabrics from my slightly scary sewing room upstairs. And she has gone for, describe it.
So it is an amazing sort of mustard yellow, maybe ochre.
I think it's almost close to burnt sienna.
It is actually. No, you're right, it is. And it's, I don't actually know what fabric type this is. It feels like a cotton.
It's definitely cotton. It's 100% cotton.
Yeah, but it feels like it's very, very soft, which makes me think it might be like...
it's a bit like those soft block print type.
Yeah, it's not a lawn because it's not like flat like that, but it's like a very soft, lightweight poplin almost.
So it's clearly... it might be yarn dyed.
Let's have a look.
Get to the end of it. She's got 3 meters on
Oh,
it.
wow. Yeah, I do. Which is great because I have roughly...
Yeah, so that's yarn dyed. Look.
Yeah, it's definitely
yarn dyed. So it's yarn dyed. And then...
it's got long embroidered sort of, not even stripes, but they're like lines of dots all the way down. And then they've got a reverse.
It almost looks like houndstoothy shape on the back.
So it does on the back. And then on the front, it's dots.
She's either side.
I know. That's what I was just looking at.
So it's just now. It's so soft.
It's so soft. I love it. It is very much, I would say, my colourways.
Yeah.
I can already see the shoes in my wardrobe. I wear. That's always my test, guys. And I look at new fabrics. I'm like, do I have shoes and accessories? And I absolutely do. Yeah. And I've got 3 meters of it. It's beautiful and light. We'll stick a photo in the show notes.
Yeah. She says, hoping I remember.
Yes, I will take a photo and I'll stick it on the Instagram if not with this episode. So there is no guidance as to what I'm meant to do with this, is there?
I would like you to create something joyful that you feel like fabulous in. You know, it could be every day, it could be more special, whatever you want. If you might already have an existing pattern, you might create something yourself. I mean, are you happy with it that free?
I'm happy with it that free because I have an idea that's definitely going to involve pattern hacking.
Nice.
So can I tell my initial idea?
Please do, yeah.
So I have had this fabric for half an hour.
Yep.
And thoughts are being had, which is great because this means it's definitely doing what we need it to do.
Yeah.
Initially, I was like, some kind of long button-down dress. But actually, the more I look at it, the more this is going to become a jumpsuit. Nice. So it's going to become, I'm going to draw this out when I get home. So it's out of my head. V-neck, probably either short sleeve or sleeveless, but like full shouldered, button down, and then like really voluminous trousers.
Nice.
Actually, it's not going to have long sleeves, but it may have some kind of a sleeve just to give it like a little bit TBC.
Yeah.
Sleeve type optional. But definitely
like cream buttons on.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. Either that or...
Which, by the way, when I go to Jess went, now I need to look for your button collection.
Yeah, I do.
If I don't have the buttons, well...
Yeah, that's true. Yes. And then I'm thinking quite a thick tie.
Oh, yeah.
Like not because you know when you do little ties for jumpsuits and stuff, and then you go in the wash and they become like string.
Yes.
I want like a big, like 2-inch thick tie.
You might attach them in the sides.
Yeah. But only I'll make little loops, so I can tie it as tight as I want.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, when you sew it together, sometimes it's a bit weird, and I don't want it to be elasticated because I want to tie it as tight as is comfortable that day.
And then when it's hot, you can just swish a bit and just have it loose.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of doing not fabric loops, but like thread loops.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they're really, really light. Yeah, you do you tie it.
Funny little
when you do it.
knot thing.
Again, which is something I don't know how to do, so I feel like I can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking like a wide trouser, but like tapering in. I want it to fit around my bum.
Nice, yeah.
Which is why I was...
back darts.
Well, yes. So this is what I'm thinking. I guess the question is, what I'm currently thinking, guys, is do I cut this as one continuous front and one continuous back? Or like as 4 pieces? So like one long front, one like so going all the way, and then do one of those big double-ended darts.
Oh, okay.
In the middle and then down, so it would pull it into the waist.
That's interesting.
And then I could do it up to like the waist. I guess again, I need to think how far it needs to button down.
I'm massively invested in this now. I'm hoping the listeners are, because I'm really excited when we come back.
Yeah. Is it nice to hear how my planning process works in my head? This is how I think about stuff. So what I'm wondering is how far down I need to button it in order to get my bum in.
So you've got to go past your waist.
Yeah.
Because you've got to be able to... So basically it has to open to the width of your hips.
So, but then what I'm thinking is, do I do the darts, but not truly fitted?
So basically what I've learned when I was drafting my own skirt is when the skirt is at its full fabric, that has to be the width of my hips plus 2 inches, so it's not scraping over my hips. So when you... So when you open the waist with the buttons, it's got to open enough that it will open to that width of your hips plus 2 inches.
So
at least.
Do I then consider... She's
thinking.
I am. Do we... I think I need a pen.
Yes, this is a podcast first. Yes, drawing her vision.
Yeah, I am, but I'll narrate it as I draw it. Yeah. So if we think sort of like we're doing a V-neck and then maybe a little sleeve, we'll see how we go. I want more of almost like a dress silhouette. And then we go out. So here's the question. Do I do the buttons as decorative? And do I do an invisible zip down the back? So I can get in and out of it more easily to go to the loo.
Oh, that's nice.
Because that's what I'm thinking. And then I can properly fit it. Yeah. And I can do darts. And I do have them.
Could you do a side zip? Are you okay with back zips?
I'm fine with back zips. Back zips don't bother me. Side zips drive me insane because I always catch my skin. Ooh, always, without set. Yeah. I'm just useless. I don't know why. But I find them really awkward to get in and out of to go to the loo.
Yeah.
Because with a jumpsuit, side zips don't really work.
Yeah.
Because I've got ideas. Oh my God, do I princess seam it? So do I do those big, I think they're called French darts, the big double-ended ones.
I think they are called that, yeah.
Or do I princess seam it and do panels? Or is that going to be too busy? Because you don't have to do princess seams from the bust. You can do them from the shoulder.
I don't think that'll work with these lines. Where has it gone? Where's the fabric?
It's under you.
That's going to confuse with the white bits in it. I think you'd be better to do
it with dart, but the problem is I think the darts will actually confuse it more.
Well, it depends on which direction you do the
so like down the way.
You want to do it?
Yeah, down the way. So I'm going to stand up for a second, guys. But my sound shouldn't change. I think because you can do princess seams from the top of your shoulder rather than here. You can do them so you get a thin inner panel and then a thicker panel there.
Okay, that's a bit like the dress you just bought from the charity shop.
Yes, similar, yeah. I've got a cashmerette one that does it.
Well, if you do that, you could cut the panels to take account of the stripes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what I was thinking is if you cut in between the stripes with a seam allowance, then you would probably get 2 normal, 1 slightly thinner.
Yeah.
But if you did that uniformly, it would be okay.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and good job we're both short because it means 3 meters goes a long way.
Oh, God, yeah. I'll probably have room for a top afterwards. So if I did like that, because then what you're also going to get is a slightly more... The lines will go in and out and follow my body, which will look really cool. And then because of how floaty the fabric is, let's go this way, I'm thinking a much floatier trouser.
Yeah.
If you imagine that sort of about there.
Dress is showing like a sort of a semi-wide leg. Yeah.
I don't want to get caught indoors. But no. But I want enough room that like it moves so I could wear a pair of heels and it kind of goes over it.
Yeah.
And then it could come up the body.
Yeah.
And then it would look really cool, and then it can go in the back in the same way. So I know what I'm going to use as the base of this. There is a cashmerette dress, I think it's a Hampton dress, that is put together in this way.
Yeah.
But it's a dress, obviously, and it's a real button down.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think I could do is I know the bust on that fits because it's drafted for me. It's drafted for.
It's good sometimes to start with a pattern that you know works and then play from there. That's the fun
especially
bit.
From an FBA perspective, I can't be bothered. Whereas I know that's for a F to a G cup, so I will just fit. And I can take the sleeves off, and I know the construction's right that I can then carry it down. Yeah. The interesting thing is going to be drafting the seat of the trousers. So what I might do is borrow a pair of trousers I know already fit me. Yeah. So like the size me sewing Seren trousers. Yeah.
To get you like your curve.
Yeah, even though those are for elasticated waist.
Yeah, but that's okay because you can shape it up.
And your leg is exactly the width I want. So the leg and the hang of the trousers is exactly what I want, and I can take the crotch curve from it and then pull it in. Yeah. And then I can just carry the princess seam on all the way down, so I'll end up with like 6 very long pattern pieces, which would be really cool. See, this is what I need. This is exactly what I need.
See, I told you when I messaged Jess the other day, and like we arranged to meet up. I said, I've got a plan. I've got an idea for you, and I was excited. I didn't tell her on WhatsApp because I wanted to save it. And I knew that we could just get you excited again. I was like, let me get my hands on Jess.
This is the thing that I need to think about it. Like, I need to, this is the best bit because you go, how can I make that real? Yeah. How can I make it work? Yeah. And with this fabric, you could have the stripes going across the way, but I think down will make me look about 6'3".
Yeah, I think it will.
I'm 5'2", guys, in case you don't know. We both are. Very short podcast. Easy to travel, easy to store.
And you can get a lot of trouser out of a bit of material when you're only that
Well,
high.
this is the thing. So I reckon as well, because if I use long pieces, I don't have the problem of trying to get, because this fabric is very, very long, but it's not that wide.
No, it is that classic Indian block print width.
Yeah, it's. I would say that is about 1 metre wide, maybe 110.
45-inch width, I think.
Yeah, 120 then, about there. Yeah. So I would really struggle to get 2 trouser pieces side by side on there.
You've got enough length.
Yeah, whereas the super long pieces, I can fold it. Yeah. And I can get what I need to get out of it. I don't think I need to line it.
I don't think you'll need to line it. I've made several pieces out of these types of fabric and you won't need to line it in terms of see-throughness. Obviously, don't wear black knickers with it.
No. But I think the question is then, what fabric do I have at home to make a toile? So I don't cut into it. I'm sure I've got some.
Okay.
I think I've got some black viscose that'll do. Yeah. Like black sort of pattern viscose, but it's so neat.
What we will do, lovely listeners, is when Jess is ready, we'll either have a discussion about it. It might be an update one, depending on how you go in. It might be that we're ready to do the next challenge then, or it might be you come back and go, well, I tried that, but I'm moving on to something else now. What next, you know?
I'm already so excited about this.
So, please do contact either the podcast on Instagram, send us an email. Our email address is sewnewbiscuit@gmail.com. So, SEW, new biscuit.
And do send us an email whether you agree with us or not. We love hearing from you guys.
We appreciate that we may be not the main voice, but that's okay. This is our voice and we are up for dialogue and discourse.
We are.
You know, I won't have rudeness, but I'm more than happy to have opinions.
Well, if you send us rudeness, you'll get rudeness back. I mean, I'm past my era of turning the other cheek.
We don't get rudeness on the pod. I've never had it, and I've only had one on my YouTube.
I used to get loads on YouTube because I used to get people who told me I was very boring.
And I was like, to go and watch something else. So you need to listen to episode 3 or whatever it is, where it was like, no, episode 1, wasn't it?
Episode 1 of this season. Yeah.
But we are interested in how you feel, and so please do let us know, because even in this, Jess and I haven't agreed on everything.
Oh, God, no.
Healthy discourse is a lovely thing.
Yeah. On The Rest is Politics, they talk about disagreeing agreeably.
Yeah, love
which
that.
I really like, because we should be able to do that.
And I do think that's missing from society.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
People take offence when we don't have to agree to be able to get on.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things where it's different.
Oh, yeah. There's some we won't go into it, but there are fundamental beliefs that are...
Yeah, that if Jess or I had, the other person wouldn't be able to be friends with.
Exactly. However... In things like, I like this pattern company, there is no reason that we have to scream at each other about that.
We can agree to disagree.
We can. And you can buy the patterns you want to buy. We will buy the patterns we want to buy. We do want to know that pattern companies you love. So actually, that's how we're going to finish the episode.
We are going to finish the episode.
We have a list.
Jess has lost her phone.
No, I've got it.
It's a list that we have constructed of pattern companies that if you haven't heard for them, we think would give you something interesting.
Yes. So I'm going to run through them.
And can I comment if I want?
Yes.
Go for it.
But I don't want to we'll get through the list and then we can always earmark a couple to talk about as well if we want. So Maison Fauve.
Really interesting.
We love them. I'm wearing a pair of their jeans right now. Hussard pants. So Shop.
Right, so that's the squig skirt. If you haven't listened, listen to episode 5. I talk about pattern testing for that. And she's got a really interesting pleat shirt. I think it's called the Quinn or something.
I think it is, but it's really, really cool.
Really interesting.
Go and look at it.
Yeah, go and have a look.
NH patterns are on here for 2 reasons. Firstly, she's got some really beautiful, really lovely tailored silhouettes.
Yeah.
But also, she has pay as you feel for all of her old patterns. Yeah. So if you want some really solid beginner patterns without, and maybe you can't afford expensive beginner patterns, go and support NH patterns. She's brilliant. Size Me Sewing. I've worked with Donna for years. Beautifully drafted, great instructions. She does a lot of elevated basics.
And some really interesting, the trousers that she's
she does some really... And there's a fantastically confusing and wonderful jumpsuit she made.
You don't get naked when you're on the loo.
Yeah. Which is great. That is the Seren jumpsuit. Go and look at it. It's really cool. Trend patterns. We both wanted them on the list.
Yeah, just really interesting
I
constructions.
love them.
Almost you're looking at couture elements.
She's a genuine fashion designer, and she does have work in Fashion Week and stuff. She's great.
List when I've got through the other bazillion patterns I want to sew, I want to dive into hers.
Yeah,
and she often has a payday deal where if you look at hers around payday, one of her patterns will have a discount.
Yeah, normally. Particular shout out. I love the raglan dress from her, and I've actually
really
put it on a wedding guest edit recently. It's really, really good. Vicky Sews. Now I have the Vicky Sews Ornella, which is a stunning evening wear dress, was half of my wedding dress. The Vicky Sews Ornella, and all of the Vicky Sews patterns, I love them because she's got some beginner stuff, but largely intermediate and advanced, difficult, interesting, fiddly, really again couture style, and I love it. And they're modern and particularly good for evening dresses. There are some
she has some really
dresses. She does. And actually the Manuela, which I will be making very soon, once we decide whether or not I can wear Midnight Blue Satin and back. But so many beautifully elevated basics, but also some really complex evening wear. And you guys know I love it.
I know people have had a dislike for people naming Vicky Sews before because of her nationality. I think it's irrelevant.
It is irrelevant because they're based in America, and you can also go onto their website and find out all the things they've done to support Ukraine and everything.
And also there's loads of other pattern companies.
Yes. So. Also with Vicky Sews, people don't like that you have to buy one size. However, it's a lot cheaper, and particularly if you're already able to adjust patterns, it's fine. But also what I love is you can buy for your height. So I can buy patterns for 5'2", and they're appropriately proportioned, which for evening dresses particularly is incredibly important. So when you're doing corsetry, I'm an advanced sewer, so I would say I don't know how to adjust a corset proportions.
That's good. That's really good.
So she's on there for a reason. Forest and Thread.
Love Forest and Thread. I think if you're listening to this in the future, she is changing her name. But I'm sure if you search Forest and Thread, you'll still find her. I can't say what it is yet because it's not out. But her patterns, she's the dark side jeans, which we'll talk about in episode 5. But she has some other really interesting patterns. And she's another person who really thinks about her design rather than the trends.
Yeah.
So definitely go and check out Forest and Thread. And I think it's incredibly size inclusive as well.
Yeah. One that was new to both of us, I think, is Frux Studio.
Yes, saw her via Rosary Apparel and Carly B.
Yeah.
Amazing pleats on this dress.
Just so inventive and interesting.
So if you're looking for something that will really you've got to really concentrate on, something different, she's got some interesting patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. Twig and Tail.
Oh my goodness. I mean, how many times I can talk about them. But if you want a company that has variation in terms of body adjustments, so they do things like adjustments for maternity, fuller tummy, mastectomy. They've got a two pocket packs with, I think there's about 10 different pockets.
Oh, wow.
They've got a sleeve pack. They've got a collar pack that will all add on. So if you buy their coat, which I'm I think it's called the Fern. I could be wrong. You can use all these different collars on it. So again, that kind of like it's a bit like that thing when I was a kid where you had
choose your own adventure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also they're beautifully designed patterns as well. So although like the Vista top feels quite simplistic, get the sleeve pack, suddenly you can make like this amazing, beautiful pleated sleeve to go on. So I think that they have some, again, they're not following trends. They're very ethical about what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And our final recommendation, and we should say this list is not exhaustive.
No, but we just picked some.
Yeah, we picked some stuff, and hopefully there's some that you guys don't know. Sewing in the City. Stunning.
Christine, yeah.
Really well, like, tailored silhouettes, really well designed, really well drafted. Really beautiful. I've got a couple that are on my to sew list.
I've got one printed out that's on my list to sew very soon. It's like a interesting blouse where there's a whole panel piece down the sleeve, which is gathered down the centre top of the sleeve. She's got some really interesting dresses.
She does.
She's got really great YouTube channel as well. And I think again she's sewing for interest rather than for trends.
And she's sewing for style, and she's creating collections, and she has a really clear ethos and sort of a really clear visual identity, which I think we're missing a lot at the moment. So we should say as well, any of the pattern companies we've mentioned in this video in a less than positive light, it's not that they aren't great patterns, and it's not that they don't produce wonderful patterns, it's not that they don't do wonderful things, but they are examples of an overall trend in our industry, in our space.
Things that have set us off recently, but as you've heard me say, I have positive things to say as well.
So do I. There's plenty of patterns from everyone I like.
Dislike and like some things. We were talking about this earlier, weren't we? That you don't have to. It's not all or nothing about something. So I can be annoyed about something, but still really like the stretch.
Yeah, and also it's about this kind of understanding of the approach you take. I know that I have not been a fan of certain brands for a long time because of a range of reasons, but that's me. And your experience of that brand isn't the same. Some person C's experience won't be the same. Like, please don't let us stop you from enjoying something you love. That's okay. But particularly with patterns coming out, and Sam says this in lots of episodes, your power's in your pocket.
Yeah.
Where you spend your money shows people what they want to make and what they want to bring out and what they want to support. So support indie designers who are bringing out interesting stuff. Be clear, support designers with size inclusive brackets.
And be curious about what you're being confronted with versus what exists.
Yeah, and what you can maybe make at home already.
Yeah, go out there, explore, look for other pattern companies, get creative, get nosy, get searching, because just because it's what's shoved in our face all the time doesn't mean that's all that exists. Yeah.
Exactly that. But thank you guys so much for listening. Yeah. I've got some work to go do now.
And I think we spilled a lot of tea there.
I think we did. And I feel a lot lighter, actually. This is a nice space to do this. And I have got some fabulous sewing to get on with. Good. So thank you all for listening. If you want to see how I get on, I will post progress pictures in the subscriber group. If you don't know how to join, you can join us on Ko-fi. If you search So What's New in the Biscuit Tin on Ko-fi, you can find us there. I also realised we didn't say the name of our podcast in this episode or the previous one. So we are Sam and Jess from So What's New in the Biscuit Tin. Sam is Sequin Girly on Instagram. I am So What If I Sew, if this is your first time here. We also both have our individual YouTube.
Yep.
The vibe's quite similar. So if you like this, you'll love that. If you didn't, I'm so sorry.
I think somebody said we're both pretty straight-talking ladies.
Someone did say that. I also put out on my YouTube video recently, finished with this, I put out a slightly moany vlog because I don't normally, but I had some stuff to say like today.
I don't think it was moany. I think you were having a little bit of a heart-to-heart.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
And I had 4 people private message me going, I love it when you moan at stuff. So clearly there's a community. But thank you all so much for listening. We can't wait to see you next week for episode 8, or next 2 weeks.
Who knows what that's going to be?
No, we do not know. So stay tuned. And if you know what you want episode 8 to be, let us know.
Tell us.
Yeah, please tell us. I think that is us for today. Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Bye.